was lost for a long time. Just the fact that I was doing wrestling, just the fact that I was expressing my art. If you're not learning, then you're not paying attention to the person you're wrestling with. Or
I think right now you might be. Are you close? Are you probably right now the best shape of your life?
I like that ab lib. I like being lost and trying to figure out where it is that we're going to after that. Sometimes you just got to throw out the whole script. And even though you're dressed up in a suit, you be quick to slap somebody real quick and then walk off like a G. He's just like, yo, if this works out, he's like, I promise you, I will get you a match. How you saw us out there is exactly how we were in the back. And he won the chaotic heavyweight championship and he cut that crazy promo. I thought that was me, but I land and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm still alive. Wrestling was a big part of why I never went that road.
Welcome one and welcome all. Hosted by none other than Coach C, Chris Sanders, you're tuning into the Character to Canvas podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the third episode of the Character to Canvas podcast. Huge shout out to Eddie Vegas and Jermaine Marbury, two strong episodes. But when I think creativity, there's one person I play a lot of ideas off of, and I learn a lot from, and that's Trigga The OG. So, Trigga, thank you for joining me for this one.
Happy to be here, Chris. Happy to be here.
All right, now for your journey, I know you've talked about it before. I can't remember. You said one of your or a few of your family members used to watch wrestling, and that's how you got into it. So, what was that journey like? And when did you finally say, after watching wrestling for so long, hey, maybe it's time that I do this?
I mean, it took a long time. I mean, I'm talking about those stories that you just mentioned. I'm 10, 11 years old at this time, even, so I didn't even think about getting into wrestling, but just over the years watching it and this and that, I had a love for it. And then I just happened to have a couple of friends that were into it, unbeknownst to me at the time. Regardless of what level it was something that I could relate with, and it was wrestling. It wasn't what I was watching on TV, but I got to, emulate a lot of that. So probably I was a little older, so 18 is when I found those friends. And the story is written from there,
So one of the things we love about wrestling is the creativity. So guide me through the process of how you thought of Triplelicious and forming that first version of yourself.
I mean, man, I think to be honest, Chris, I was lost for a long time, just trying to find myself in this business and where do I fit in and things like that. The name, it was just a name that just I happen to get from a video game, to be honest. I tell that story all the time, from a video game, one of the early ones, but it was just something that stuck, and it just progressed from there. So I'm glad where I've taken everything from there, but those few years I was very lost, so my wrestling was kind of again, with the name and not knowing what I wanted to do. Did I want to stick with that? Did I want to go with a first name, a last name? It seemed like everybody else had cool fucking monikers and names. It's like I couldn't come up with one. So it was a tough challenge, but Triplelicious is what stuck, and I made it work.
So when you were 18, you decided hey, this is something I wanted to do, and you decided Triplelicious, and you did the trainings and all that. When you first started, did you expect to go how many years have you been wrestling now?
So all right, so I would say about 20, 21, but there was a good 3-4 year hiatus in there. I had to take some time away for some situation that arose, but altogether, I mean, I was still, even though I was completely gone, I still watched wrestling. I still, had a little bit to do with it. So, I mean, but altogether, about 20 years, man.
So 20 years ago when you started this, did you have any goals? Some people just say, hey, I want to have a match. I want to win a championship. What was your mindset? Did you have set goals? This is what I want to do in wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, I did like like just like every other young kid that comes out, and we all want the world at that time. Um, we all had different goals and getting to different places. I feel like I've reached some, others I've missed by a little, some by a lot. I can be a realist, but yeah, I mean, we all have goals, Chris. So it's for me. I mean, yeah, I did have goals, but for me it was just what pushed me more than the goals, as silly as it sounds, was the passion to do wrestling. Just the fact that I was doing wrestling, just the fact that I was expressing my art through wrestling was more than enough for a while, you know.
And would
That's
you
how
ever
I set the goals.
would you have ever expected like 20 years ago, like you wrestled names like Gangrel, you traveled to places like New York, Pentagon,
Never.
Chris Bay, winning championships?
Never, never. I mean, hey man, success is measured here and here. I mean, some people get to broadcast it on a national level, on a global level, but no, man, no. I thought I'd be wrestling my friends, you know. Um, for a long time I felt like that. It was just like, hey man, these are just my friends that we go out and we entertain people. But I would have never 20 years ago getting in here, I would have never thought I'd be stepping in. I didn't even know who Gangrel was, but I never thought I'd be stepping into the ring with like real deal wrestlers,
And that goes with my next question. I know you've wrestled a lot of people, and I know you've mentioned JT Dunn a lot, but has there been an opponent or somebody that like you've just learned so much from and have improved from?
I mean, apart from JT, yeah, I mean, I feel like I learned a lot in every match I'm in. But if I had to narrow down, um, you know, working with Danny as tag team and just seeing how we bring how he brings his single stuff, or his way of expressing art into our tag matches. I've learned a lot just being with Danny. Chris Bain, like another one of my homies. Um, you know, it's always fun to get in there with him. He'll teach you a lot about pacing yourself, because if you're not, he'll blow you up.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times, but just I try to listen to everybody, Chris. Like, I guess I can't think of, at least not right now, I can't think of a definitive hey, this is what I learned. Like I try to pick up from everybody different things, like like just speaking with like I said, we'll go back to JT, like just learning from like JT, and it's funny because I say learning even though he's younger than I am, but he was able to go out and do all the things that I wasn't able to do, train with world athletes and go on to the beyond, past out here, New England and all that, and getting not only all that information, then able to bring it back to Rhode Island and give it to whoever wanted it. That was, I mean, I learned a lot in that. Once he came back after that big run he had, tag team and all that, once he came back and moved back here, like I learned so much. Like my wrestling was stagnant, and it just like, if you watch a lot of like matches from before and then in that to that time to now, it's like huge leap. So I mean, again, I know I said apart from JT, I learned a lot from JT, but I learned a lot from everybody. Everybody has a different brush.
Yeah.
So if you're not learning, then you're not paying attention to the person you're wrestling with, or even your peers.
And then one thing I know, I get to talk to you a lot. You take a lot of pride, and I think right now you might be. Are you close? Are you probably right now the best shape of your life? You think?
Hold on. Yeah. At 43, Chris.
What
At
made
43.
you get into that mentality and say like now is the time like to lock in? Like, what's been the process like for you? Because obviously, like your physique and how you look is huge in wrestling. So
Yeah.
like I feel like now it's like better than ever for you.
Like, I feel, to be completely honest, Chris, I feel kind of embarrassed a little bit. Because we're talking about 20 years in and I'm just 43, getting into like being in shape and taking care of my body when I should have been doing this 20 years ago. You know, maybe things would have propelled a different way. It wasn't just that. I mean, I got kids and you know, early and all that, but yeah, man, it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah. And then like to go with that preparing for wrestling, like one of the things that I don't really get to see because I'm a commentator is like how people prepare for matches. Do you have like any like pre-match like rituals or like songs you listen to or ways you like dial in for a match?
Yeah, I mean, 10 minutes before my matches, I trip walk in the back. About 15. No, man, like, to each their own. Everybody got their own thing, and you know, some people got prayers and all that. My thing is, it's like I like to go through my match, get it all together, get it put in place, and then once I feel we have it, was usually like you know, a few matches before we're scheduled to go on. I like to go off on my own and just feel everything, you know, take a look at the crowd a little bit, just kind of be in my own little space. And then right before the match, right when we're almost like on deck, then it's, you know, I'll give the guys one more you know, run through or whatever. But no, I don't have a ritual or anything, but you know, usually, you know, just at least between me and Danny, we just kind of like dap each other up, and so, you know, time to make the donuts, let's go.
And then like to go with that, the music, like one thing since I've known you, you've had like numerous different theme songs. So like what's the process to you to find like that song? Because I remember the What Days you had Worried About Nothing, then you had stuff by Quest the Youngin, and now you have some new stuff you rolled with units. Like what's your process in finding the theme song that defines the OG?
Like I don't like changing music a lot. So it's like, even though you know, you mentioned that there was a lot, it's just I don't change it just to change it. There's usually something going on, like, you know,
There needs to be the change, kind of.
yeah, if I break from a group or something, or you know, whatever the case may be, something goes on, I'm moving in a different direction. Not that I'm going to do it every single time, but sometimes in the direction that I'm moving, you know, this current song just doesn't work, or it's outdated, you know, things like that. Like, you don't want to keep using a song that you were using with a group way back when and whatnot.
And then to go with that, so I don't know if I've told you, the reason I started this podcast was I took a performing arts class, and the final project we had to do was a podcast. So I ended up doing one related to wrestling, and it had a great feedback, so I ended up keep doing it. But one of the things we learned about, which I know relates a lot to wrestling, is improv. It can relate when somebody like gets hurt or something like that. Maybe the crowd doesn't connect. Have you ever had a moment where like you wanted to do something and maybe the crowd didn't relate, or the crowd did something that you didn't expect to take off, or a match didn't go how you planned or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. I mean, really, like, I mean, I'm a forgetful person. So, you know, those that have yet to wrestle me, I apologize in advance. But I like that ad lib though. I like that ad lib. I like being lost and trying to figure out where it is that we're going to after that. Sometimes you just got to throw out the whole script, and, you know, but yeah, all the time. I mean, not to throw names, but that whole thing with Pentagon going to the outside, that was his idea on the fly.
Wow.
Like, I remember calling the match in the ring. I think we had a couple of things on the outside, like silly things, but I wasn't expecting all that.
Wow.
And but a lot of it was all, you know, ad-libbed.
Now, for one of the big things about wrestling is obviously the moves. Do you have like any inspiration with like moves you do, or like moves you want to hit, or even just in general in wrestling that maybe you want to shape yourself off? And I don't know if you can really like do it, but like, Did you have any inspiration to shape in like who the Trigga the OG was in that sense?
Like I've so not to be cliche, but like to mold into Trigga the OG, like I started like I wanted to switch things up a bit. Like again, I felt I was getting not old but stale, right? The name, people know me for so many years. Oh yeah, it's just him. Yeah, yes, so I've always been like a mafia movie guy. Like not all of them, but like I've always like loved that style, like the dressing in the suits and even though you're dressed up in a suit, you be quick to slap somebody real quick and then walk off like a G.
Yeah.
I've always liked that. So like that's what I started doing, and I just started wearing the hat. Like it came a little by little. Started wearing. I was just coming out in suits and then still wrestling in my get up. I wasn't wrestling in the suspenders yet and all that. It took time, but a lot of that came from. I mean, exactly what it was. Mafia.
Wow.
Mafioso type of character with the cigar and all that. So that's what I modeled Trigga the OG after, and I didn't think it was gonna take. I mean, always been. It took a while to get there. It wasn't like I'm doing it. Like I've had that idea for a long time. I just didn't know how to do it, or if it would even be not accepted, but if it would be, in the wrestling world, like if it would be respected, or is it going to be ridiculed? So am I going to do it right, or am I going to make it look like a comedy? I didn't want that. So I'm once I moved over and a year or two in, that's when a year or two in, that's when I started getting all these opportunities and stuff. So I knew, I was like, hey, I hit on something. Nothing crazy, but it was enough for people to be like, hey, he's doing something new. I like it. So that's where that Trigga the OG came from.
And talking about starting something new, explain to me how like Killanova started, joining up with Christian, and then like how the process was welcoming new members in and fitting, deciding like who really like fits in this role.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So, Christian had already tried to turn. He was a big baby face over at Chaotic. I knew that. I've known Christian for a long time, back NCW days and whatnot. Wrestled him out there, and I instantly liked him. But they were turning him heel. They were thinking of this idea of turning him heel. He was with Mr. Spellmount at the time. He turned on his best friend Ilya Markopoulos at the time. But Christian wasn't a baby. I mean, he wasn't a heel. He wasn't a bad guy. No matter, like, I saw it. He hit Ilya, and it was like, whatever.
Yeah.
But then, like, as he was leaving, it was like, yeah, we still like you, man. So, they had that dynamic, and I felt like the Chaotic fans just wasn't gonna let Christian Casanova be a bad guy. He was too cool. He, great baby face, good looking, all of that. So they weren't gonna. I can't say they weren't going to, but it felt like, they didn't need, obviously they wouldn't have needed me if it was working according to plan. But so again, mixing in Trigga the OG, doing the mafia stuff. I met up with Chase. I went to training one day, and JT was like, oh, hey, by the way, Chase is coming. I haven't seen Chase in maybe 13, 14 years at this point.
Wow.
I had not talked to him, nothing. And I know Chase from like back in the days, back from he'll laugh, back doing Bob's EPW Sunday shows, Saturday morning shows. Oh man, we were wrecked. Oh, good stuff. But yeah, so I know him from back in the day. So, you know, not never any issues. We just never crossed paths or whatever. And he's there or whatever. And we started talking and this and that. And I'm, you know, hey man, great to see you. And that was that. A couple days later, he texts me. He's like, hey man, sends me you know, are you able to talk? Then sends me this long ass text that I would have, but I changed phones, so I lost all that. But just saying, hey man, you know, not to go into a long story, but hey man, we're trying to do this with Christian, and he's with Belmont, and we're trying to turn him, and you know, we think you'd be a perfect asset, just to be the mouthpiece, just you know, get the people to hate on you guys, and we think that you know, molded him and helping him, I think you can push him to be a super heel. I was like, boy, hold my drink, please. You know, I got you. So, you know, I just wanted to be a chaotic. I mean, I would have took just about any position just to be a chaotic, you know. He told me straight out, he'll tell you the story. He told me straight out that this wasn't a wrestling role. This was strictly a mouthpiece. This was strictly managing. It was an agent at the time. But he just needed me to do this. And he's just like, yo, if this works out, he's like, I promise you, I will get you a match. I was like, he's like, I don't know if I can get you into wrestling, you know, matches, but he's like, I can get you a couple of matches. He's like, I will get you in here if I can get you in here. And the rest is history. I think like once from the moment we got together and everything just built up. Added a couple of more people, Tasha, Royce, and the dynamic with that is that everything just gelled together. We looked the part, everybody was cool. I'll tell you, there was no beefing in the back. Like we like how you saw us out there is exactly how we were in the back, apart from like criticisms and stuff like that. But man, working with Tasha, working with Christian, Royce, like it was cool. Like there was no, I mean, not that there is in the unit too, but I know sometimes, like, you know, when you have a group with different minds, different creative minds, things can start getting a little out of control. But yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much how it went. That's pretty much how it went. The owner at the time wasn't really, not that he wasn't feeling me, so I didn't take it as offense. I just knew he didn't know me.
Yeah.
You know, I just assumed he don't really, they told me, he's like, you don't really watch anything else other than chaotic, you know? So, but like, I was able to wow him that first time they gave me a match, which was with Josh Briggs.
How long was it from that moment? Because you said at first it was just a manager role. How long until you had that match?
Oh, shoot. I came in right before, like a couple months before Cold Fury 16 or 17, one of those. It happened a lot faster. I don't want to, maybe a year.
Not bad.
Maybe a year. It could have been less. There was an opportunity, things were going on with Christian and whatnot. There was an opportunity that they needed a match, and they were like, yo, Trips, you're up.
Wow.
And I was like, you want me to wrestle? Hold my drink.
So like for that, when they told you at first, like it was just gonna be a manager, like even when you get an opportunity to wrestle somebody like Pentagon, or even when you get an opportunity to go to somewhere like New York, like do you like thrive? You feel under pressure? Like how do you handle like a huge opportunity like this, like to make sure like you kill it?
Enjoy the moment, man. That's my thing. Like, yeah, it's cool, and I want to have a fucking great match, and I want to kill it. But sometimes being wound up like that and being all like that can kind of throw things off. At least for me, I'm a vibes guy. So I like being cool, collected, whatever. And but like you just have to if you have to be honest with yourself, right? You have to be honest with yourself. But if I feel that I can contend with this person, yeah, the nervousness is always there. You know, I was nervous when I wrestled Pentagon. You know, you mentioned Gangrel. Like I was nervous wrestling those guys. I don't want to I don't want to mess up and look
Mhm.
silly or make them
Yeah.
look silly. But like, I don't think like that because I'm confident in my ability
Mhm.
to wrestle. I know I'm not going to hurt anybody, you know, I might stiff you a little, but I'm not going to hurt anybody. And if I do, it's because something went completely wrong, you know? But yeah, I mean, I still get nervous and stuff, but not enough
Mhm.
to be like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this, you know? I want to do it. I want to prove to not just everybody, but to myself when I leave, like, yo, I just tore it down with Chris Bay.
Yeah.
Yo, I just tore it down with this guy, you know, and things of that nature.
Yeah, I like that mentality you have, like not like proving people wrong, but proving yourself right in sort of a
Yes.
way. And
Yes.
then another thing, which I was doing research before, let's talk about it. It's somewhat in fight life. Yeah, you kind of are the unit. Something that started what, like during the pandemic, like 3-4 years ago. I remember JT telling a story like he thought that like during the pandemic, like it was gonna be like towards the end of his career and yours and Danny's, but like you guys like came together. So like, what was the process of the unit? And like, does it blow your mind that like it's still going on today?
Yeah. I mean, I never expected this to just take a look at the first picture we put out when or the first promo we put out where Danny had hair out to here and he
Yeah.
looked like a helmet. I was fat and gross and just completely out of shape. I mean, even JT, it was the pandemic. We
Yeah.
didn't do shit for a year. Nothing but eat.
Mhm.
At least for me. But yeah, I mean, I had just broken up with from Christian left.
Mhm.
We did something silly. I was not happy at all with it. It was just a spur of the last spur of the minute thing. Excuse me, spur of the moment type thing. And we all knew he was leaving and they wanted closure. And I'm like, I didn't give two fuss. I wasn't fussing about it. I mean, a year off of wrestling, Chris, like I was not there.
Right.
Like I was just whatever. So I was already seeing the writing on the wall. They weren't saying anything. Like Chase never came up to me and was just like, yo, things aren't working out, this and that. I was just like, man, there's nothing else for me. I can't see anything else for me. Killanova was cool, but Christian left. Tasha's over there, and she left. I'm not a big let's recreate this magic.
Mhm.
It was kind of brought up a little, but I was like, no, just let it be and let us,
Yeah.
Whatever. It's been brought up, here and now, but yeah, I mean,
I think like one of the unique things about like the unit, it's like JT said the word perfectly. It's like a spider web. Like it starts somewhere and then it goes different ways. Like I remember when Chase first turned and like to everything he's done, having people like Dango, a huge factor I think was having AJP in there, like all the knowledge that like he
yep.
learned. So I think that was like really creative. And now like speaking of creative and like moments, you've talked about like some of the matches you've had. You've talked about being the OG. When you think about wrestling, like what are some of the things you're most proud of? Like, is it a certain match? Is it like something that you did that like you were happy for, a storyline? Like, what's something that you like take a lot of pride in?
As silly as it sounds, the respect of the community for myself and the talent that I have.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long time coming. Like I didn't feel that for a very long time. Like put it this way, when Danny won the chaotic heavyweight championship and he cut that fucking crazy promo.
Yeah.
I thought that was me cutting that promo. That's how I felt. Like I resonated. Like I just looked at him like, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get it. But being now and just having the respect of the community and people coming up to me like, hey, blah, 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 like, hey, you help me with this, you mind this, I think that's what I'm most proud of.
Mm-hmm. And then one thing that I forgot to ask you in the question before, do you remember your first match back after taking a year off of wrestling? Like, who was it against and like, how was it?
I do. It was, I don't know if you know this name, Chris. I'm about to date myself.
All right.
And I haven't seen him in a while, and I hope he's doing well. They had I found okay, so I gotta backtrack a little bit.
Now you're good.
So I was working with Rich Bass at the time at a bar. South Street, for anybody in Providence, was known for their wings. We used to do a lot of business with them in wrestling shows. But prior to coming back, I was out of shape. I was done. I was not coming back. I always had Rich right there chirping, "Hey man, hey, I'm in with the PWF and things are gonna be different. Like you got to get back. You got to get back." And he would always say, he'd always look at, he'd come out, serve people their stuff, and he'd always look at me and be like, "Waste of talent." Perfectly good waste of talent. You're not doing anything. Just get in shape. And I don't know what. And I used to tell him, I was like, "Man," I was like, "Nah." Then it turned into, not like this, Rich, not like this. Like, I can't look like this. And one thing led to another, and I finally got serious and I started working out and I felt good enough. And they finally was like, "Hey man, we got an opening. We can get you a match." And it was to answer your question, it was with gorgeous Gino Giovanni, or was the notorious Gino Giovanni.
I think it was gorgeous.
He was gorgeous, but then he turned into notorious. But that was our first, I think that was our first match, or not debuting, but like for me it was like a re-debut. They were testing me to see, if I could be on shows and whatnot. And Gino was the same thing. They were looking to have him come in. So it's like, "Oh, all right, you're gonna wrestle Gino Giovanni." I'm like, Gino's good, but his promos and his antics were a lot better. But I was like, okay, my first time back, whatever, like up in Tewksbury of all places, where now I'm a mainstay for Chaotic.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, that was my first match and back. And man, it was so cool. Like, I was even amazed that I was like, that was dope.
Yeah.
That was great. Like, to the point they hired us both back.
Wow.
We both got jobs or whatever, and that's how I ended up coming back into wrestling, into PWF, and then things just took off from there.
And then I have a few more. One of the last things, I don't think I've ever asked you, what do you prefer, being a good guy or a bad guy? Because we've seen you do both. Like, where do you feel you really thrive at?
I like them both. I think I like being a bad guy more. And I'll tell you why. It's a silly thing, but why, as a bad guy, you would want this type of treatment. But as a bad guy, I try to be that person, you right there, that you can't stand, whether it be me, myself, my character, or, whatever. But everybody can resonate with an asshole. And but not like an over the top, like someone who's just there and just this person may be a teacher, a boss, or whatever the case may be. So when you come to a show and you see me and I'm doing all this thing and I remind you of that person, I feel and I can feel it with the crowd when I'm finally getting my ass whooped. And now the person that they hate, the person that they despise, is now in there getting his ass whooped. I feel like that's a big release for people. Like, man, I wish I could do that to my boss, but I can't do it to my boss. This guy's next.
And then one of the things that I'm starting to get into now that I've learned a lot from you, I see the banner behind me. You talk about Twitch a little bit. I know you're taking a little hiatus, but you're getting back into it.
Hey man, I do apologize about that, guys. My little community, my little family, Twitch family. I'm having issues with my PlayStation and its audio, and I am a person with little to no patience. So when things go wrong, I tend to out a little bit, but yeah, I'm coming back. I'm definitely coming back. I'm gonna be cameoing on Chris's Twitch, where where we play football, and hopefully he'll re-download FIFA because it's fun.
Yeah.
That's always good stuff. But Fortnite as well. But mainly right now we're into Madden and kicking some ass.
Yeah, and then to go with that, the final question I've asked everyone so far. Now you still have time left. The day you decide to finally hang up the boots, what do you want Trigga the OG's legacy to be? What do you want people in wrestling to remember you for?
Not so much wrestling, but just in general, fans, people that have been watching me, little kids that watch me now. I come from the projects. I mean, I know everybody got their own background and where they come from, but I would like to know, I'd like to let all those kids that are maybe out there doing silly things on the streets and not thinking that they have an outlet, to let them know, like, yo, you don't have to do all that. Like, not that I was like crazy in the streets and stuff, but like I said, I come from the projects. I knew that life. My family, like my brothers and sisters, like a lot of them, like most of them got caught up in that life, and things like that. And I feel not my friends also, but I feel like wrestling was a big part of why I never went that road, because I had to make the next show.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work so I could get my stuff to make the next show. I was always worried about the next show, getting to the next show. So I just want to let everybody know out this, anyone that, comes from where I come from, or even worse, or whatever, like, dude, this little community is for everybody. You just got to respect it and respect everybody in it.
Yeah.
But respecting it is a huge part of it, which I feel a lot of people, maybe not deliberately, but a lot of people do shit on wrestling with their antics, let's say, but that's talk for another time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you doing this trip. And like, one of the things, like, when I think of creativity, I think of you. You're always trying to up your game. It's all about the grind. Like, this weekend, you're going to Maine, you're going back to New York. So, Trip, thank you for doing this, man. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. We're going to Maine. The unit's going to take on Above the Rest and the big boofa, Desmond Cole. That's going to be a banger. If you guys saw last time, the unit mixed it up with Above the Rest. Not bad up until the end.
Great start, now, Trip, talk about that clip. What did you know it was going to blow up? Like, what was your overall reaction when that move happened?
Yeah, I mean, it was so weird because I did it, and then like it happened so fast, and like, if you're showing the clip now, when it happens, boom, like, obviously I don't see myself as everybody else sees me. I'm in my head doing my own thing, but I land and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm still alive, because I know I flipped. I just didn't know what kind of flip I did. I know I flipped, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm still alive. And then as who pinned me? I forget who pinned. But as I think it was Gabriel Sky that pinned me. When he was pinning me, whatever, I'm just like, holy shit. I said, he's pinning. I'm like, holy shit, did I flip, dude? Did I flip? I was just like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? Even though, like, if you see the clip, I'm just kind of laying there, but I don't know if you could tell, like, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. And best wishes this Saturday, I believe Limitless is.
We got Limitless on Saturday. Then next week we got Fight Life. We got the tag team championship signing. Then we then we come back to Chaotic after that, where I'm in a I got put in a battle royal. Winner takes on Danny for the Chaotic Heavyweight Championship. So
damn. High stakes there.
Very high stakes. I haven't won. That's the only thing I haven't done in Chaotic is won single titles.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a tag team specialist, I guess. Hey, 3 different reigns, 3 tag team championship reigns, 3 different partners.
That's crazy.
So come check us out. Plug in again the Twitch stream.
Oh, yeah.
Twitch.tv, Trigga The OG. We're going to be coming back sooner than later. I'll make a big post about that, but I do apologize for leaving everybody in the dock. It's just my PlayStation is acting up and I need to regulate that.
Well, with that, thank you so much for watching episode
One
number
more
3
flex.
of
One more flex.
One more flex.
This is for Tusslemania out there.
Oh, boy. Shout out to Tuss of the Character to Canvas podcast. My name is Coach C. That's Trigga The OG. Peace.